Hi, folks. Joe Daly, Director of Community at FinOps Foundation. I'm here with Liam Greenamyer from AWS. Liam, tell everybody what you're in charge of.
Yeah, so I'm Liam Greenamyer. I'm a principal product manager in AWS billing and cost management, and specifically, I focus on our suite of AI for FinOps offerings.
Last year, Amazon Q Developer was released. This year, there's been a branding change, and there's something called Kiro. Can you explain the difference between the two and how they're related?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we released Q Developer last year, the idea is that it was sort of a full lifecycle software development assistant. And so it can help you with everything from writing code to generating unit tests to creating documentation and READMEs, but also help to operate your AWS environment, help you understand and introspect your resources. And as part of that, critically, being able to understand your costs using natural language. And then earlier this year, we released Kiro. And Kiro is really a new paradigm for how to do AI-driven software development. And the sort of unique proposition that Kiro brings to the table is what we call spec-driven development, right? So what that means is instead of just sort of vibe coding and hoping for the best, it's a structured process where it walks you through first creating a requirements document and then a technical design document and then an implementation checklist. And so it helps you go from idea to actually production ready code much, much faster and with much less sort of risk and variability than you would get with typical AI coding assistants, right? And so as we have launched that, we've gotten incredible reception from customers. We heard Matt Garman earlier talking about the customer reception that we've heard and the customer feedback. And so some of what we released as Q Developer is now sort of part of the Kiro broader product family. So the Q command line interface that has been very popular is now the Kiro CLI. So customers can still benefit from all the great capabilities that are available in Q Developer. And some of that is just sort of folded under the Kiro product now.
Right. So what was just released here for FinOps under the Kiro in Q Developer?
Yeah, so we released a really substantial improvement to the cost management capabilities in Q Developer. So these are capabilities that you can access from anywhere in the management console. It doesn't take any setup. It's really a sort of AWS managed experience. And what these capabilities allow you to do is to analyze and understand your costs using natural language. The improvement that we released is a really substantial upgrade along a couple of dimensions. So one, it's now much more intelligent. It can sort of iteratively explore the data, make a bunch of different API calls to gather data from different sources, perform calculations. And what this allows you to do is ask more open-ended questions and do more complex analysis as opposed to more sort of basic fact-finding. And then the other thing that we released as part of this improvement is a broader range of use cases. So as of today in Q in the console, you can analyze historical and forecasted cost data, but you can also find savings opportunities. You can look up pricing information and estimate the cost of a new workload. You can analyze savings plan and RI, coverage and utilization. You can track free tier usage, budget adherence. You can track down cost anomalies and do root cause analysis on those. So a lot of really rich capabilities across a broader set of FinOps use cases.
Well, let's talk about those use cases. How are you seeing FinOps practitioners leverage these services?
Yeah, so there's really a couple of main use cases that I think customers are gravitating to the most and where we're seeing them really get a lot of differentiated value out of these AI for FinOps offerings. So the first is just accelerating and even making possible more complex analysis. So like one of the examples that I like to give is computing unit economic metrics. So if we think about an example like what are my costs per vCPU hour and how have those trended over the last week. Historically, that's actually pretty difficult analysis to do. You'd have to use a few different cost explorer queries, export data to a CSV, open it in an Excel, run some calculations. That could easily take a couple of hours. even for a pretty experienced practitioner. And now you can ask that question to Q, and you really can sort of delegate that analysis to Q, and Q can come back in 2 minutes instead of 2 hours and give you a breakdown of how your vCPU, your cost per vCPU hour have trended over the last couple of weeks, and even tell you what the drivers are, right? Whether it's due to a change in instance mix or savings plan coverage or anything else. So that's one of the first use cases that we're seeing a lot of, is just doing more advanced analysis that oftentimes just wouldn't be practical without the benefit of AI. The second major use case that we're seeing a lot of customers get value out of, and a lot of customers are really excited about, is using AI to shift FinOps left into developer workflows. And so we released the billing and cost management MCP server in August of this year, and we're seeing a lot of rapid adoption from customers. And one of the key reasons for that is that with this MCP server, you can now not only access these capabilities in the console and Slack and Teams, but also in your CLI or in your IDE or in a desktop app. And so we're seeing a lot of really powerful use cases emerge from that, where, for example, if I'm a developer and let's say I'm using Kiro and I'm just sort of following the spec-driven design and development process, if I have gotten to the phase where I have a design doc, before I start coding, I can actually just ask Kiro, hey, what would this cost? Or what would be the cost difference between, design option A, design option B, and design option C? And what it can do is it can use this MCP server to go fetch that data from the AWS price list APIs and give you a breakdown of how much each option would cost. And so that gives you the ability as a developer to really understand the cost implications of all your design choices long before you actually even finish writing the code, but long before it gets deployed and you're sort of looking at it retroactively. So that shift left into developer workflows is definitely one of the big use cases that we're seeing. And then the third big use case I would talk about is just sort of democratizing cost understanding to a wider set of stakeholders. I mean, historically, one of the reasons that we've needed dedicated FinOps practitioners is to kind of like bridge the gap between the very technical aspects of building in the cloud and the very financial aspects of understanding the costs of all of those decisions. And we know that FinOps practitioners often spend a lot of time answering questions from engineers, providing reports to senior leadership, answering questions from finance about why costs changed month over month. And so the customers that are adopting these AI for FinOps capabilities, one of the big use cases is democratizing that cost understanding. And so, for example, what we see customers do is they'll set up a Slack channel where Q is sort of a participant in the channel, and then product managers, finance, engineering, however you want to set it up, they can just ask questions directly to Q without having to log into the console, without having to know how to use Cost Explorer or query the data. They can find savings opportunities. They can, evaluate the cost impact of a given workload, all without, again, having to, log into the console or really know how to use all these different detailed services.
It's been a year now. The service exists. You're updating it with the latest releases. Mm-hmm. If there's a FinOps practitioner who's approaching this now for the first time, what are the first steps that they should do?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing that I would say to do is just open up the Q chat panel in the console and ask a question about your costs. And then ask some follow-up questions and see where that takes you, right? I think that again, one of the big benefits is you can sort of iteratively explore the data and build this really sort of deep understanding of your costs. And so for me personally, that's become my preferred way of doing it. If I'm, onboarding to a new application that I am managing the costs for, or I have a question about like why my workload cost profile looks a certain way, I find it much easier now to just ask those questions directly rather than having to go sort of click through the user interface or make API calls to do.
Do you see customers starting to leverage chat more than dashboards because of this service?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, the role of graphical UI and good dashboards is not going to go away. Data visualization is always going to be, I think, a key aspect of managing costs. But increasingly, yes, the sort of first line of defense, or the first place that a lot of practitioners go now, is to AI to get those questions answered and to build that understanding. Of course, we are also in the future looking into having more visualization capabilities within Q, but that's something that we'll talk about later. I think the thing I would say is, if you haven't given these products a try, if you haven't used the cost management capabilities in Q in the console, or if you haven't tried the billing cost management MCP server, I would really encourage you to try them out, kick the tires, let us know what you think. As I mentioned, these products have really improved a lot over the last year based on customer feedback and based on advancements in the technology. And so we really think that this has the potential to transform how a lot of customers run their FinOps practices.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.